So it is not the first time that this client has gone on a hiatus from their video needs. They have been doing a lot of restructuring in their company. And so there are just some higher level things that they have to take care of first. And so they have to, cut things where they can and just sort of, pause some things. They have put a relatively long pause or hiatus on their video needs. And that includes everything that I will be doing for them. Because there are some things that I do that are video wise, and then there's some like video adjacent admin things. They're putting a stop on everything that they pay me for. I'm seeing that as getting fired because the fact that they are restructuring their company, and this is not the first time that they have had some company issues before, leaves me to think that there is a chance that they could totally change the way they do their company. Their company could fall apart entirely. The restructuring could take a lot longer than 6 months. I am looking at this as when they said to me, we're putting the pause, I heard goodbye, goodbye. They said this to me during a Zoom call. My face is right there. So I'm obviously going to keep my cool, keep my composure. And I had already kind of guessed actually that there was a reason why they were meeting with me, because it was kind of a high level meeting. So I had already put it in my head. Sometimes that's helpful to just put the worst in your head when and if they say something to you, you can say, oh yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. So I just obviously kept my cool. They were very complimentary of, what I have been offering to them and how they would love to obviously have me back. They were very aware of my situation, given that I am a freelancer. I have other clients. This hiatus could lead to me getting another client and replacing them. And they were very understanding of that. All in all, the call went really well. And, I didn't leave the call being super stressed or anything, but there definitely were a few things that came into my head that I think are important to address that maybe could be helpful if you ever get dropped by a client. What do you do? And so I would say the first thing, of course, as I kind of mentioned before, is just to not panic. You don't want to panic in the meeting when they're telling you this thing, and you don't want to panic after. Maybe it would be a little bit different if it was my biggest client. Suddenly I'd be thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do for money? Either way, whatever kind of client it is, you just want to think, okay, let's not jump into anything immediately. Let's not panic. It's kind of like you have to go into crisis mode, but you have to keep calm, where you're like, okay, what is in the here and now? How long do I have where I need to get XYZ done for them before I am off the clock for them for however long? Hiatus or for forever. Center yourself and wrap your head around what needs to get done in this time that I am going to be exiting with them. You could think in the way of screw that. They're firing you. You don't need to do anything for them. And I think that this kind of leads into another thing that I had written of you want to kind of keep that door open. Even if you have no intention of ever getting back with them, if you really hate them, you don't want to leave on the worst terms. You don't want to be like, you're firing me? Well, okay, screw you. And then just up and, end things. Because it's just, you just never know what's going to happen. You could, do that. And then you go and get yourself some other clients. But then something happens with those clients and they drop out. And then you may come crawling back to said client. So you really never want to leave any client situation in a bad way. Tie up those loose ends, wrap up everything in a nice little bow, and do it all with a smile on your face. If they do come back, who knows what will happen? If they do reach out to me 6 months from now, I may be in a spot where I do need a client. So I want them to always consider coming back to me. And then it can be me in the position of power to say yes or no to them. That's how I like to keep it. When I was telling you what happened in that Zoom meeting, I did want to reiterate to them that I am in demand. And, you don't want to say it in a snotty way, but if you do get the opportunity to kind of note that in my situation, for example, I'm always really busy. I'm always overwhelmed with work. I always feel like I'm not getting enough done. And so in so many words, in the nicest way possible, I did let them know that I do have a bigger client that is kind of absorbing a lot of my time right now. Even just to subtly let them know, I'll be okay. Don't worry about me. I'll be okay. It also kind of lets them know that you are in demand. And I think that's a good thing for them to keep in mind to know. If they know that you are in demand that looks good for you. And two, in my case, it also covers my butt. Not really that it matters, but if I decide that I don't want to take them back on 6 months from now, whether I just don't want to or whether I am too busy, I already pinned that information at the start. So when they come back to me, I can just say, listen, as I kind of mentioned, things are kind of kicking up with this other client. Unfortunately, I'm not able to take you on, and I don't have to feel too bad about it. So I think that letting them know that ahead of time in as nice of words as possible is always good practice as well. And then let's really get into it, is the thing that you kind of have to have a conversation with yourself when and if this does happen, is you really have to reflect on your situation with your clients. Is this your very biggest client? In which case, that kind of answers the question pretty easily for you. Yeah, I'm going to need to hurry up and find a replacement ASAP. But if it's not your biggest client, in which case this one is not, I have to think, okay, one, do I ever want them back? And two, do I actually need to replace them? So it just kind of like, you have to stop and, take a step back and think about that. Like, in my case, do I really need to replace them? Potentially. I don't think I'm going to jump on anything right now simply because, to be honest, I'm not lying when I say that I have another client that's absorbing a lot of my time. So it's not actually, in my case, it's not actually the worst thing, that it just kind of like simplifies things a little bit for me. I can't help but think, when you only have like one big client and then, some smaller clients, you start to be like, I'm kind of afraid of putting my eggs in all one basket. So it is kind of like a tough decision of, the benefit of getting a new client. And does that benefit of getting a new client and the income that you could get, does that outweigh all of the potential mental stress and overload of just even the onboarding process of getting a whole new client? It can be a lot to deal with. And so as of right now, I am just putting an absolute pause on any big decisions. I am just going to be getting through winter just on what I've got going on right now. I'm going to be working on this channel, of course. Who knows? Maybe I can just, keep working on this channel and it will just take off and I won't have to get another client. I don't know. We'll see. But I am just going to keep working on that and doing some self-care just to get through this time, because winter is rough for me. Maybe 3 to 6 months from now, I probably will start, thinking about, okay, what am I doing here? Am I going to get a new client? Am I going to do something else? Am I going to take them back if they come? You have to, it is important to answer those questions. You don't want to be in freeze mode if and when they come back to you, or if you are approached by a client, because that's happened to me before, where a client has come to me and asked for my services or been interested in my services. Sometimes it's an easy answer of just, no, I'm not interested. And then sometimes it's like, well, crap. The faster that you can answer that question for yourself and be mentally prepared for that yes or no answer, I think is going to be helpful for you, because as freelancers, we're always on our game. We're always in the hustle. We're always thinking of our next situation. We're always career minded. So anyways, that was my full on ramble about me getting fired. Put on pause, but I will say fired. It feels like getting fired. If you've been fired before, let me know in the comments below. Tell me all your terrible fired stories. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you to my editor, Logan. Thanks a lot, guys. See you in the next video. Have a good one.